When most people hear the word kink, their minds instantly jump to something secretive, embarrassing, or maybe even shameful. But the truth is that human desires are as old as humanity itself, and to a Stoic thinker, what matters isn't whether a desire is strange or mainstream, but whether it controls you or whether you have mastery over it. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the 10 most popular kinks. Yes, the things that most people secretly think about but rarely admit. And we're going to explore them not in a way that's explicit or graphic, but in a way that uncovers the psychology behind them, the hidden need they reveal, and how Stoicism teaches us to navigate desire without being enslaved by it. So let's begin with number 1, the kink of power exchange, often thought of in terms of dominance and submission, which may sound extreme, but at its core it's about human beings testing boundaries, wanting to feel control or wanting to feel protected. And in the Stoic sense, this reflects how people seek order in chaos, how the mind desires structure and clarity, and it reminds us that power is only real when it's handled with responsibility. So the Stoic lesson here is to never give away control of your mind. Even if you play with power in relationships, you must remain free within. Number 2 is the kink of role play, where people imagine themselves as someone else, whether it's a character, a stranger, or even just a slightly different version of themselves. And this reveals the deep human desire for novelty and reinvention, for stepping out of the roles that society assigns us. And Stoicism would say this is natural, because Epictetus himself taught that life is like a play, and we are the actors. But we must remember that the role we play is temporary. The real strength comes from knowing who you are behind the mask. Number 3 is bondage, which at first seems like just ropes and restraint, but psychologically it's about trust, about surrendering in a safe space, about testing vulnerability. And this is very close to Stoic ideas because Marcus Aurelius reminds us that freedom isn't about doing whatever you want, but about not being ruled by fear. And bondage as a fantasy is often about creating a container where fear can be confronted and transformed into intimacy. Number 4 is voyeurism and exhibitionism, the desire to watch or to be watched, which sounds risque but is really about our social nature as human beings. Because deep down we crave recognition, we want to be seen, and Stoicism warns us about this craving by reminding us that seeking approval from others can enslave you. So the healthy way to understand this kink is to realize that the desire to be visible must be balanced with inner confidence. Number 5 is fetishes, which can be anything from attraction to specific body parts, to objects or scenarios. And this reveals how the human mind can attach meaning and desire to something symbolic. And the Stoic interpretation here is fascinating because it shows us how impressions, fantasiae, can take hold of us, turning something ordinary into something powerful. But the lesson is that we must remain aware of these attachments instead of blindly following them. Number 6 is sensory play, which can mean heightened attention to touch, temperature, or sensation. And it demonstrates how alive we become when our senses are engaged. And the Stoics often warned us not to chase pleasure blindly, but they also acknowledged that nature gave us senses for a reason. So when you notice this kink's popularity, remember it's just people wanting to feel more alive. And the Stoic practice here is to enjoy sensation without clinging to it. Number 7 is taboo exploration, the curiosity to step into things that feel forbidden or socially off-limits, which has always existed in human history, because people are drawn to the edge, to crossing lines. And this connects to Stoicism in that we must understand why we are pulled to the forbidden, because sometimes the more something is restricted, the more the mind magnifies it. And so the Stoic approach is not to condemn, but to ask, does this serve my virtue? Does it bring me closer to wisdom? And if it doesn't, then it's not worth chasing. Number 8 is impact play, which again might sound physical but is often about energy, intensity, and release. And it reminds us of the human need for catharsis, a way to let go of tension. And Seneca often spoke about the release of anger through controlled means. So we can see that many modern desires are simply echoes of timeless human needs. Number 9 is psychological play, the mind games, teasing, anticipation, and suspense that make interactions exciting. And this is directly tied to Stoic thought, because the mind is the battlefield where desire lives. And when you understand that most kinks are mental before they are physical, you realize why Stoicism emphasizes control over thought And finally, number 10 is romantic intimacy dressed as kink, which may surprise some of you. But the truth is that many people's so-called kinks are simply deeper forms of wanting closeness, wanting to be chosen, wanting to feel special. And when you strip away the surface, you see that people crave connection, and Stoicism agrees by teaching us that true contentment comes not from the approval of others, but from the harmony of your own soul. So what does all of this mean for you, the viewer? It means that your desires, your curiosities, and your private fascinations aren't something to be ashamed of, but they must be understood, not blindly followed. Because when you understand them, you free yourself from being their slave. And that's the Stoic way. Not to deny the human experience, but to live above it with wisdom and strength. So if you found yourself curious about which of these 10 popular kinks secretly speaks to you, remember that curiosity itself is human, but mastery of self is divine. And as Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events, so use that power well, and instead of letting desire own you, own your desires and live free.